This is the Truth Network. Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it, I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network.
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
Where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
Welcome in on this Friday. Glad to have you. Joey Hudson in for Stu today. Hope you had a wonderful, blessed week as we head into the weekend. We're going to do a little thing that I often do on my local show in upstate South Carolina, and occasionally when I sit in for the Mike Gallagher show, and that is Free Speech Friday. Whatever you want to talk about, I'm all ears today, and I've got a few ideas of things we're going to talk about, but I'd love for you to join the conversation. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH, 866-34-TRUTH. You can email me as well. Just email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. So what a week we've had. Actually, what a almost month we've had, politically speaking, from the time that President Donald Trump was almost assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then soon after, President Joe Biden announced that he would not be seeking re-election. And then there was some question as to who that candidate would be, and quickly Democrats coalesced around Vice President Kamala Harris. She, soon after that, chose her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and it's off to the races. Politics and religion sometimes don't go well together, although it should, because as a Christian, I believe that we have to be involved in the process. We have to be vetting these candidates who are running our government at all levels, whether it's local, city council, county council, school board, state legislature, state house, state senate, up through the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, and certainly the White House. I believe that we as Christians, it is our obligation to try to elect people whose faith is a big part of their lives. Reverend Franklin Graham has criticized a group calling themselves Evangelicals for Harris for using footage of his late father, the Reverend Billy Graham, in an ad supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. Graham, of course, is president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, well-known aid organization, Samaritan's Purse as well. He took aim at the faith group in a post on X this past week. This new group is one of several organizations that have been formed to support Kamala Harris's presidential bid. They include groups like Christians for Kamala, or Republicans for Harris, Haley voters for Harris. It used to be Haley for Biden, but when Harris's name was inserted in place of Joe Biden's, it became Haley for Harris. Now, my former governor, Nikki Haley from South Carolina, I live in upstate South Carolina, she has asked this group to stop using her name because in her mind, there is no such thing as a Haley supporter who would support Kamala Harris. Reverend Graham shared a screenshot from Evangelicals for Harris's ad from MSNBC's Morning Joe on X on Wednesday of this week and said that his father appreciated the values of former President Donald Trump. Billy Graham was the pastor to a lot of presidents going back to the 60s. Billy Graham his advice was sought after by these very powerful men. Franklin Graham wrote in this post, quote, "The liberals are using anything and everything they can to promote candidate Harris. They even developed a political ad trying to use my father, Billy Graham's image. They're trying to mislead people. Maybe they don't know that my father appreciated conservative values and policies, those of President Donald Trump in 2016. And if he were alive today, my father's views and opinions would not have changed," he said. Last month at the RNC, Franklin Graham thanked God for saving the life of President Donald J. Trump. Franklin Graham was one of the many speakers at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. And as I sat there and I listened to Reverend Graham that night, he made some excellent points. And I do think that Donald Trump is a different person after the attempt on his life. He has, in a number of situations, and even again this week, has made it clear that he thinks God spared his life, that it was a miracle. Now, Donald Trump doesn't talk about his faith that much. In fact, he's had some pretty awkward moments in the past when his faith was questioned. Evangelicals for Harris's ad features Billy Graham. The beginning of the ad shows footage of Graham as he was consulted, or as he consulted with other presidents. The beginning of the ad shows Graham saying, "Have you been to the cross and said, 'Lord, I have sinned. I'm sorry for my sin. I'm willing to change my way of life.'" The video then cuts to a clip of Republican pollster Frank Luntz asking President Trump if he had ever asked God for forgiveness. Here's the ad, cut number 1.
Have you been to the cross and said, "Lord, I have sinned. I'm sorry for my sin. I'm willing to change my way of life"?
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I'm not sure I have. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
I don't bring God into that picture. Now, if you've watched this video too, you can see the puzzled look on Donald Trump's face. And I'll have to say, as a Christian and as a supporter of Donald Trump, it was not one of his finest moments. It was not a good response. The Evangelicals for Harris ad ends by displaying text that reads, "Is there any greater denial of Christ than to say, 'I don't need his forgiveness'?" Now, that's not exactly what Donald Trump said, but it sounds good coming from the Harris campaign. That's what they're trying to do, is drive a wedge within the Christian community, the faith community, saying Kamala Harris is a better Christian than Donald Trump. Trump made those comments at the Family Leadership Summit in Ames, Iowa in July of 2015 as he was starting his first campaign. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. Love to have you join me on this Free Speech Friday. Joey Hudson in for Stu.
Truth Talk Live.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Continuing this Friday edition of Truth Talk, I'm Joey Hudson in for Stu. Glad to have you. This is Free Speech Friday, so whatever you want to talk about, I'm all ears. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. Any topic is wide open for you today. So we're talking about this latest group called Evangelicals for Harris, who are pretending to be Christians who believe that they have to support Kamala Harris and that Donald Trump is just not a choice for them. Now, I don't quite get that. I don't know how a Christian can reconcile voting for a candidate who supports abortion. Let's just take that one issue, abortion. There are many others. But for the sake of today's conversation, let's talk about abortion. Now, Evangelicals for Harris, they're making light of Donald Trump's faith. And they're using this video that they have put out this week that shows Billy Graham, and a video of Billy Graham, and it has Donald Trump responding to a question from Frank Luntz when Frank Luntz asked him if he has ever asked God for forgiveness. And honestly, Donald Trump's answer is not a very good answer, because Donald Trump at times, I don't think, feels comfortable talking about his faith. He's talked about it more in these just last few weeks after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. I don't know that I had ever heard Trump talk about miracles, God, a miracle from God, and God watching over him like we've seen in these past few weeks. I was in Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention that evening when he accepted the nomination, and he explained what he was thinking on that day at that rally. So you have evangelicals for Harris who are coming forward and saying, well, you know, if you're really an evangelical, there's no way you can morally support Donald Trump. Now, they kind of cut part of that video off, what his full answer to Frank Luntz was. And in fact, let's play that one more time. Cut number 1. This is the video that the Kamala Harris campaign has blessed coming from the evangelicals for Harris.
You've been to the cross and said, Lord, I have sinned. I'm sorry for my sin. I'm willing to change my way of life.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I'm not sure I have. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
Now, again, that's not a very good question when he says, I'm really not sure that I've ever asked God for forgiveness. His exact response was, I'm not sure I have. I just go on and I try to do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into the picture. I don't, he said. On their website, Evangelicals for Harris outlines what it describes as Kamala Harris's faith story. They write, a loving God, the Good Samaritan, serving others, and a deep respect for all faith traditions, these experiences, teachings, beliefs, and values Vice President Kamala Harris grew up with have shaped her into the leader she is today. Christians for Kamala, another faith group backing Harris, held a virtual rally via Zoom earlier this week. They reportedly reached 40,000 people. 40,000 Christians who say that they support Kamala Harris. The Evangelicals for Harris, the group that released this video, also held a Zoom call this week. It's not clear how many people attended, but it's been reported that up to about 40,000 people was on that Zoom call too. One person we do know that was on that call was the granddaughter of the late Reverend Billy Graham, who says she is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. She was not on the Zoom call live, but had recorded a message. Her name is Jerusha Duford. Her mother, Gigi Graham, of course, the oldest daughter of Billy Graham. She spoke on this recorded video because she said that she was unable to attend, but she wanted people to know her thoughts on this race. Others on the call and others who are involved with Evangelicals for Harris are former Representative Adam Kinzinger. And if Adam Kinzinger is involved in an organization, you kind of know what kind of people are there, don't you? There was another guy who was described as a theologian who has claimed that whiteness is wicked and that churches should pay global reparations to people of African descent. So again, that kind of sets the stage of who's part of this organization. In her recorded video, the granddaughter of Billy Graham said, in 2016, when a man bragged about assaulting women, various leaders of my faith then propped up this man as a poster boy for godly manhood and leadership. She continued, this broke my heart as I have watched, quite frankly, for the last 8 years, people who are curious about Jesus and his teachings have done a 180 and walked in the other direction from my faith. Duford went on to reference Isaiah 130, which likens the rebellious and unfaithful Israelites in Jerusalem and Judah to an oak whose leaf withers and a garden without water. She implied that Trump supporters are similar. So how do we deal with groups like this? And what is your response if you are a Christian who supports Donald Trump because you just can't bring yourself to support a candidate like Kamala Harris, again, let's just consider the one big issue, abortion. She believes that it's okay to murder the unborn. Morally, how do you reconcile that? And what's your response to Jerusha Duford, the Reverend Billy Graham's granddaughter, suggesting that we Christians who are supporting Donald Trump, that we need to take another look at our faith, that we are causing people who are curious about the Christian faith to turn away and go the other direction. She basically is saying that if we're a Trump supporter, then we're potentially driving people away from Christ. People who potentially are interested in becoming a believer, who are curious about more information about Christ. She says that we're sending them in the other direction. 866-348-7884. Love to have your comments this afternoon on this Free Speech Friday. 866-34-TRUTH. You can email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com. I mean, you know, when I hear this type of thing, and when I see a video like this when it's being circulated this week, it just frustrates me that I'm being told as a Christian that I'm sending people away from Christ because of my support of Donald Trump. 866-34-TRUTH. Hope you're enjoying the conversation on this Free Speech Friday.
Truth Talk Live.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Continuing this Friday afternoon edition of Truth Talk, glad to have you join us. I'm Joey Hudson, sitting in for Stu today, and it's a pleasure to be with you. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH is how you join the conversation. You can email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com. And let me take this opportunity to invite you to join my daily podcast as well. It's called Just the Truth. You can listen wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth, or go straight to my website, joeyhudson.com, and click on whichever carrier you prefer to use. And love for you to subscribe. While you're there, be sure and like it and comment as well. But that's a daily Monday through Friday podcast I'd love for you to join. We're talking today, I've just been astounded this week, particularly about this latest group, Evangelicals for Harris, using the Reverend Billy Graham in one of their videos. Franklin Graham has been very outspoken this week, saying that they are misrepresenting or trying to misrepresent what his father would have done, that his father would support Donald Trump. They have widely circulated this video that shows Donald Trump in a situation where he didn't respond very well. It seemed to be a foreign thing to Donald Trump to ask God for forgiveness. Frank Luntz had asked Trump if he had ever asked God for forgiveness. And Trump kind of stuttered and stammered and said that he just usually didn't go there. Now, we have seen a different Donald Trump since his assassination attempt. And he has very clearly said that he believes God spared his life. Personally, I believe God did spare his life for the job that we need Donald Trump to do. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's go to the phones on this Free Speech Friday. Let's start with Joseph in my hometown of Greer, South Carolina. Welcome, Joseph.
Hey, Joey. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Hope you are.
I'm okay. No, I'm mad as a hornet. I got 3 quick points. Number one, since when did Democrats start caring about religion and politics?
Yeah, exactly. And if they cared, they wouldn't have Kamala Harris as their presumptive nominee. I'm assuming they're going to make it official next week. A lady, again, take the one issue of abortion. How does a Christian reconcile supporting someone who likes to kill babies?
Very simple answer. You don't.
Yep.
Point number two. Kamala says she respects our religions. That's nonsense. I respect one religion. Everything else is man-made. You're either with Jesus or you're against him. There's no fence setting. Every other religion is a false religion with the devil as the false prophet. I don't respect anything except Christianity because that's the only religion in the world. Everything else is man-made garbage.
Yep. And they don't respect our religion at all.
Well, the devil doesn't attack his own, so that's the reason why they attack Jesus and nobody else, because he's not going to attack his own. Number three, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh,
Joseph, you're like me. Forget something a point you're going to make.
I'm getting old, man. Let's ask Kamala if she's asked for forgiveness. Let me remind everyone that asking for forgiveness is only half of it. The other half is repent. That means you try not to sin anymore. I can ask for forgiveness every day and go do the same stuff day after day after day. Jesus said, go and what? Sin no more. Yeah. In other words, I will forgive you, but repent. So these Democrats, when they try to quote the Bible, they make themselves look so stupid.
Yeah.
They take a verse and they just alienate it, and they're the most ungodly, demonic people I've ever met in my life. And they put the White House in the gay rainbow colors, and they're talking about Trump's repentance. Come on.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Joseph, you make a good point there, though. I hope someone, maybe Peter Ducey or someone, will ask Kamala Harris if they ever get the opportunity to ask her any questions. She has to open up for questions first, but assuming she does, you're right, that would be a good question to ask her and see what her response is.
Well, it's one thing, again, she's an abortionist, so does she pray to Jesus to forgive her and to change her mind? Or does she pray for Jesus to forgive her so I can keep on killing babies? Which is worse, Joey? Yeah. I'm so mad.
Yeah, it's terribly frustrating, and it makes me mad when you have groups like this who pretend that they're representing the evangelical movement within our country, and that and look, to have the Reverend Billy Graham's granddaughter saying that just the point that people who support Donald Trump, that we're not setting a good Christian example, we're turning people away from Christ, that infuriates me.
Does she support the transgender movement, the homosexual movement, Bill Clinton? Let's start naming them, Joey.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Hey, Joseph, one question for you. Since you live in my hometown of Greer, are you familiar with Cannons? Do you ever go to Cannons?
Good grief, yes, man. Virgil, good old Cannons down there on downtown Greer.
Yep. Joseph, that was my first job. That's where I worked. Virgil Cannon was my next-door neighbor growing up, and Virgil was so good to me, and I started working there when I was in the 5th grade washing dishes.
Man, Virgil was a very good man. I tell you, he had a heart of gold, and I go there and see his grandson, Scott, and they're just good people. Yep. Scotty is his son.
Well, Joseph, next time you're in there, be sure and tell Scott that I was talking about him on the radio.
Well, we went to the same high school, Joey.
Okay, all right, Riverside.
Way back in the day, yeah. I was 82. I graduated 82. I think you graduated 77 or so. I don't remember.
I was 79. Yeah, I graduated in 79. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, they tore it down, as you know. So.
Yep. Well, Joseph, good to hear from you. Appreciate you listening to us here on Truth Talk. Have a great afternoon and good weekend. 866-348-7884. 866-34-TRUTH is how you can join the conversation. Joseph was talking about, as I was earlier too, the idea that Kamala Harris, of course, is an abortionist. And how does this group, calling themselves Evangelicals for Harris, reconcile the fact that their candidate is at every campaign stop, she talks about abortion rights. Since assuming the role of the presumptive Democrat nominee, Vice President Harris has talked about the right to an abortion at every major campaign rally she has had so far. I want you to hear, in cut number 2, I want you to hear what Kamala Harris has to say about abortion.
We who believe in reproductive freedom will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
So that is the candidate that these evangelicals for Harris supports. So how does a Christian support a candidate like that? Anybody have an answer for me? You have some guidance for me here? 866-348-7884, 866-3434-TRUTH. I mean, really, I'd love to hear from someone if you can help me see inside the mind of one of these evangelicals for Kamala Harris. How do you, as a Christian, how do you support a candidate who supports killing unborn babies? I don't get it. If this person, the evangelical Christians who want to put her in the White House, when we come back in a few minutes, I want to share with you what Matt Walsh had to say as he made the argument, better than anyone I've heard so far, said that it would be morally wrong for anyone to support Kamala Harris. Matt Walsh makes a very strong statement, which I agree with, basically saying if you are a Christian, then you are morally obligated to support Donald Trump to turn our our country around. Because Kamala Harris is not going to. When she talks about women having a choice, they do have a choice. They have a choice to have safe sex if they're going to. That's their choice. It's not a choice to get pregnant and then abort the baby. However, that so many young women are doing that now. Young couples, I guess. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. Joey Hudson in for Stu. Love to have you join this Free Speech Friday. You can email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com.
Truth Talk Live.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Continuing this Friday edition of Truth Talk, I'm Joey Hudson in for Stu Epperson. Glad to have you join me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Sit in for Stu. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH is how you join today's conversation. And we are having Free Speech Friday, so if you have a comment other than what we're talking about, I'm all ears with you today. Let's go straight to the phones, try to get as many of you in as we can. Patty is waiting patiently in Indiana. Welcome, Patty. How are you?
Hello, and I am going to take this in a different direction.
Okay.
But I did have something to comment about this also. But the other two callers before me hit the nail on the head. But I've been wanting, I'm going to do a little rant and rave here.
Okay, go for it, Patty.
We have a lot of older people in our government. I wonder how many of them remember what this nation was like before they took God out of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a little booklet here, and it's called One Nation Under God, America's Christian Heritage. It's only 77 pages long, and it talks all about how this nation was founded on God and Christ and the Bible, how it rose like to be as good as what it was because they followed the Word, because they prayed over every decision that was ever made
yeah.
before making the decision. I wonder how many of them remember that. And we need to remember also, somewhere here, I tried to find it, I have a page, and it's like on legal size paper. Front and back is covered with a list of all of the scriptures that are woven throughout our Constitution. So I just wish that we would think about voting whoever it might be. You don't have to vote for personality. You vote for policies. We may not always agree with the policies, but vote for the person that would maybe just stand firm on that and get us back to being a righteous nation again, because an unrighteous nation will not stand. A house divided to itself, against itself, will fall, and the United States is going to fall if they don't get back on track.
Yeah, you're right, Patty. I mean, God has favored us because up until this recent decade, we have put God first, and our leaders. You're right, and we, as Christians, Patty, we need to remind them that we need to reintroduce God to our nation.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And right now, this nation reminds me of the Israelites. They fall, they cry out. They fall, they cry out. They fall, they cry out. Well, what happened? God divorced them, and it says so.
Yep.
And then as far as this deal with the abortion stuff and whatnot, okay, they are going on and on about women's reproduction rights. Well, excuse me, they're not trying to stop them from reproducing. They're not trying to stop the reproduction rights.
Yeah.
But I cannot vote for a baby killer.
Yep.
I can't do it. I cannot vote, regardless of any of the other things that she might stand for or anybody else might stand for, because once you make that decision, and sometimes it's not a decision, sometimes it is rape, or incest, which is family rape. Sometimes those things do happen, but it says in the Bible that a child is a gift from God. He's the one who knit us together in the mother's womb. He knew us before that even happened. And so nobody's trying to stop their reproduction. We just need to stop the murder.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I live in the state of Indiana, and, right now each individual state gets to set their things, their rules and laws about abortion. And right now, Indiana is a 100% total ban. You cannot get an abortion in the state of Indiana.
Yep. And,
so
that's a good thing. And Patty, while we were talking, I was looking at this book, One Nation Under God: America's Christian Heritage. I wasn't familiar with that. I just ordered one as we were talking, because we should get
yellow.
Yeah, we should get thousands of those and distribute them, because you're right. That's the message. People, particularly young people, need to know this.
Well, I think we need to send them back to every last person that's in our government.
Well, that's true.
Them of it.
Yes, that's a good point too, Patty.
Yeah.
All good points, Patty.
Okay.
I appreciate you listening on this Friday. Have a blessed day.
Well, like I said, if they are really a true Christian, they won't vote for a baby killer, regardless of anything else.
Yep, that's for sure. And that's appreciate your phone call, Patty. That's the thing that Matt Walsh made a good point of, and I want to share this with you before we run out of time here. Matt Walsh with the Daily Wire had a very good commentary when he says it's morally wrong for anyone to support Kamala Harris. This is cut number 3. I want to share this with you from Matt Walsh.
Every American who considers himself conservative or Christian has a moral obligation to vote against Kamala Harris. This is a bad person, and she is part of a regime, more importantly, that has very bad, very evil designs for this country. She wants to kill babies. Okay, up to the moment of birth. That's what these people believe in. Fully born infants. She wants to destroy our national sovereignty. She doesn't believe that we have a right to national sovereignty. She wants to indoctrinate our children into an ideology of self-harm and confusion. These are the people who want to release violent criminals onto the streets. to continue to destroy our communities. And in every other sense, they are actively working against everything we claim to stand for. So whatever you think of Trump, I mean, even if you have the most unflattering view of him that a reasonable person could possibly have, he is not part of that agenda. And if you are voting for that agenda, you are actively participating in the evil. You are supporting it. You are helping it to gain and retain power. And that you're doing all of that to get back at Donald Trump because you don't like him at the expense of our country, that just makes you a fool at best. At best. This is not about being loyal to Donald Trump or any other politician. Politicians don't deserve our loyalty. I don't care about that. This is about loving your country enough and caring enough about your children and their future to put your feelings about Donald Trump to the side and cast a vote against this regime that has already done incredible harm to this country. And will do a lot more if we don't stop it.
All good points, isn't it? They will do a lot more if we do not stop it, and that's what we have to try to do. Quickly, is Rick still with us? Rick Holding?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Rick.
No,
quickly,
I'm still here. Yes, sir.
Have just a minute here, Rick. What's on your mind?
Okay, real quick. I just wanted to point out, and I'm sorry if this has already been mentioned. I caught the show after I got off work here, but these people that say they're evangelicals for this lady, they're not. They're liars. They're paid actors. And the reason behind all this is because when they go to do what they did last time and steal the election, they're going to have something to say, look, all these people supported us. And that's all it is. It's just smoke and mirrors. There's no real support for this maniac. And it's all just like, because I think if they feel like if they say it enough, then it becomes true. And then they have something to fall back on. They can say, look, all these people supported us. But I've seen, I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. I fled Denver almost 2 years ago to here to Gaffney, South Carolina, because of the way that place is being run. And it's the same thing that they're doing. And what they do is they run ads on places like Craigslist, and people need money, and they're paying them money to go to these rallies to support this lady, or not support her, but make it look like she has the support. Because even then, I don't think these people support her. They just need a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's all boils down to they're going to try to do what they did last time, and they want to have something to fall back on so that they can say, well, no, look, all these people supported us. You know what I mean? And it's all just a bunch of lies, man. And I know you're running out of time. Like I said, I'm glad you got to me. I was hoping to be able to just make that comment because I don't want people to be fooled into thinking that there's really any kind of evangelical support for this nut.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. And hey, Rick, I'm glad you found your way to South Carolina from Colorado. I mean, there's a lot of God's beauty there in the Colorado mountains, but you are in God's country in Gaffney, South Carolina right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my cousin's got a little church over here, man. It's great. My kids are growing up in a place that's a lot more wholesome.
What's the name of the church?
Mission of Grace.
Mission of
Right
Grace.
Downtown Gaffney. Yes, sir.
If you're in the Gaffney area and you're looking for a church home, go to Mission of Grace and say hello to Rick while you're there. Rick, you've nailed it here, my friend. I appreciate your phone call.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You guys have a good day. God bless.
Sure thing. 866-34-TRUTH. You can join the conversation here quickly if you like. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. And again, let me take this opportunity to invite you to join me on my weekday podcast called Just the Truth. You can listen to it wherever you listen to your podcast. Be sure and just search Joey Hudson, Just the Truth. If you can't find it there, just go to my website, joeyhudson.com, and subscribe while you're there. Be sure and make a comment as well. But you need to hope you'll join Stu here on Truth Talk every afternoon at 4 o'clock. It's been a pleasure for me to spend this Friday with you. Hope you have a blessed weekend, and let's pray. That's what we got to do. We got to pray as our callers have said today. We got to reintroduce God back to our nation and to our leaders. I'm Joey Hudson in for Stu. Have a wonderful and blessed weekend.
Another program powered by the Truth Network.